We're going to dig into dealing with changes. The changes that we saw in our very first lecture. How do we deal with them? And I'm going to give you 11 points of how to deal with changes. Point number 1 is get involved in your teenager's life. You need to know their friends. You need to know their music. You need to know the kind of magazines they look at, the kind of websites they go to, who are their heroes, who do they admire, who is your child's best friend in school, how are they doing in school, are they teased in school, are they very brilliant in school. Perhaps your child is a champion at the 100-meter race and everybody celebrates them in school, but you don't even know about it. Plan time alone with your child and really get to know them. Some parents only spend time with their child when they're resolving an issue. Let me encourage you to not just be one who is quarreling and resolving issues, but one who is connecting with the children and laughing with them. I know some parents are thinking, man, I cannot be friends with my children. I can't be friends and remain a parent. Yes, you can. God is like that to us. God is described as the friend of Abraham. Christ says to us, I do not call you slaves, I call you friends. And yet the scripture says it's a dreadful thing to fall in the hands of the living God. So if you have grown up with that ungodly belief that you cannot be friends and parents at the same time, you need to change your thinking because it is possible. Now, in getting involved in a teenager's life, you need to make time. Don't come to me and say, well, my employer will not do this, that my work is busy. All that is true. But people always make time for what they find important. In the midst of your very busy schedule, if your father fell sick, will you not get time to go and sort them out? You'll find that a family may have 3 children and not have time for those children. But when their 4th child is born, and this 4th child has challenges, maybe they've got some kind of syndrome that requires more attention, suddenly parents make a shift in their schedules to pay attention to this child who has challenges. Do we have to wait until our children have challenges for us to make time for them? Shouldn't we make time for them when they have no challenges to build up a strong family and not only have to do that when there are challenges? Point number 2, this is overprotection versus letting go. When the children are very young, you need to protect them. Think of the raising of your children like raising a crop. Like, you plant a crop and you have to go in there and help that crop. You manure it, you water it, you pull out the weeds, you give it a chance to grow. This crop will grow to a place where you do not need to keep on weeding it. It will be strong enough to withstand the weeds. So when the child is young, guidance and oversight is necessary, but the child needs privacy and space of their own as they are growing older. It's okay for the child to be alone with their thoughts and feelings. Avoid overprotection. Let them take a bus. I remember talking to one parent who was very frustrated, and she said to me, these days have been reduced to a driver. I crisscross the city. I pick my child from one school at 3:30 and I maneuver through traffic, and I'm at the other school at 5 o'clock to pick the other child who's been waiting for an hour and a half, and they're frustrated. And I asked them, why don't you let them take a bus home? And the mother said, it's too dangerous. I said, well, everything is dangerous. I asked them, how old were you when you first took a bus? And they said 13. And how old is your daughter? She's 16. See, the daughter had grown, but the parent could not see them as having grown enough to be able to make their way back home on their own. I advised that parent to drive to the school and park the car, walk to the bus stop, catch a bus with their daughter, and show them how to get home on the bus. It turned out that the daughter was eager to do it, but they weren't doing it because the parents had forbidden it. Now, of course, there are things to forbid, but many of us are raising our children with so much fear that we forbid everything. That 16-year-old was just 2 years away from joining college, where they'll have to be completely independent. Parents need to know that there's a stage to let go of this child. Let go slowly, release them slowly, avoid overprotection, avoid treating them like children. Point number 3, give them responsibility. They need to take responsibility for their own homework, responsibility for their own room, responsibility for chores, responsibility for their own personal hygiene. If you have house help, remember the house help was hired to help you, the parent, with work in the house. Your teenager should be able to take care of all their laundry and all the things that need to be done to make their life comfortable. Some parents exempt their teenagers from any house chores simply because they have a major exam coming. Now remember, parents, all of life happens simultaneously. The fact that a child has exams coming does not mean they don't need to be doing home chores. Just find a way of helping them to cope with all of life simultaneously. The fourth area I want to touch on is that whole area of pocket money. Pocket money. This is an area where we could have done a whole lot better in our own child raising. Let your son and your daughter have enough pocket money. The big question is, how much is enough? Well, it depends on the lifestyle that you have introduced them to, the lifestyle that you live in the home. When you go out to eat a meal, on average, how much do you spend? If you're spending 800 shillings or $8 on a meal for each person, then perhaps when they want to go out, that's the amount of money you should let them have. Teach them when they're going out with others not to always choose the most expensive item on the menu, especially if someone else is paying for that food. There is a book by Randy Alcorn. I think it's called Money, Possessions, and Eternity. It's a big book, more than 500 pages. If I was to go back and raise my children all over again, I would buy each one of them a copy of that book and would take time in the holidays and read the chapters together, because it's got really good principles on money. I would teach my children to work for money. We did teach them to do that. We didn't just dish pocket money to them. We taught them to work for money. But what we avoided doing was to let them put us under pressure to give them work for money, and for them to want to be paid for anything and everything they did. We understood that there were some chores in the house that were part of regular home routine maintenance, but when there was extra work, we let them work for it and earn their money. And having earned it, we then teach them how to save it, teach them how to spend it, teach them how to invest it. Area number 5 is decision making. Involve your children in making decisions. I remember one time our son was in class 8, just about to do his primary school exam. And he'd come back home and spend some time watching television before he goes on to study. And the rule in the house was that no television during the weekdays, but he was constantly breaking that rule. And we knew that clamping down on him was not the way to go about it. We wanted to be able to guide him through this process. And so we met with his older sister, Mindy, and said, Mindy, if Michael was in trouble, what would you do to help him? Mindy said, Dad, I'll do anything to help my brother. Then we said, we think he has a bit of trouble. He's in trouble and he needs your help. He needs our help. You see, Michael comes from school and spends time watching TV, and we want to reduce his TV watching. We actually want to put the TV away for about 2 weeks. Mindy says, Dad, let's go for it. And then she realized, if you put the TV away, even she can't watch it. But she'd made a commitment, she'll do anything to help her brother. So after we made that decision, we went to Michael and said, Michael, we think we should put the TV away for about 2 weeks to help you focus on your studies. Michael immediately looked at his sister, and his sister agreed, yeah. he felt a bit cornered. And when you come back to the next section, I will tell you exactly what we did.